It's pretty close to 3:30. We'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. We actually have a quorum live here. Unfortunately, folks, because this was scheduled, and if you could mute yourself too, please, unless you're recognized. We don't have a camera to show everybody in the audience. So if Bob, if people can't hear, if somebody from here speaks, then if you can just make sure that we can hear them, or let us know if we can't.
Will do.
So we're missing a couple board members, but we had a meeting last Thursday, and our administration, Bob and Donna and Tracy, had brainstormed some ideas that they presented. There's 4 or 5. I didn't write them all down, but we did then. One of the things that had been asked of us at the last meeting in Dover was to check to see if people could be tuitioned. And we weren't sure, and we got a legal opinion that told us on Thursday that we couldn't tuition students. If we offered the grade, we couldn't tuition them. We did ask Bob to go back to the attorney and check on that, because again, this is not a normal situation. I'm sorry, now I'm not talking to you guys, because it's not a normal situation. It's nothing that we did. It's not like we fired people or got rid of people. So Bob, you did go back to the attorney with a little bit more of an explanation, and you want to tell us what the attorney told you?
Absolutely. So I tried to explain sort of in more detail what was happening. A couple different factors. One, that we were talking about a 1-year solution. We weren't talking anything permanent. And that it was kind of a crisis situation with regards to staffing, as the AOE obviously knows about and the lawyers all know about. And so this is what I was given, because you can't tuition if you offer the grade. What their recommendation was from our attorney was that if the board took action to move all 6th graders from Wardsboro to Dover, thereby operating Dover as the only school that operates 6th graders, they would have to do that in open session in a vote, that they could authorize that to happen. After that, and this is the part that I think people are interested in. After that, students, of course, families could, of course, make the decision to go to Dover and avail themselves of the 6th grade class at Dover. And we can talk logistics around transportation and all that as well. Or at that point, because Wardsboro is not offering a 6th grade, then a family can then write to the board and request tuition being paid. And I'm going to read the statute because it's quite specific, and I want to make sure everyone's on the same page. A school board in a district that operates an elementary school may pay tuition for elementary students who reside near a public elementary school in an adjacent district upon request of the student's parent or guardian, if, in the board's judgment, the student's education can be more conveniently furnished there due to geographic considerations. So in other words, once the board took step 1 to move 6th graders all to Dover, if you lived in Wardsboro, let's say, and it was more convenient for you to have your child's education furnished in an adjacent district, public district, that you could petition the board to then tuition your student to that place. And so adjacent districts, again, public school, those are the kind of the key pieces. And at that point, it's up to the board's discretion. If the board did not allow that, if the board turned down those, there is an appeal process in the statute as well, which gives those parents the right to appeal directly to the Secretary of Education, who convenes a hearing with a hearing officer and makes a determination for the family and for the district. If the hearing rules in the favor of the parent, then the board can be ordered to pay that tuition. So that's kind of the avenue. Is sort of this it's 16 VSA 821, and so it does allow for tuitioning, but only if they're not already existing as 6th graders in Wardsboro. So that was sort of the route, and so we as the administrative team, after reviewing that, decided that our recommendation, based on some of the other things that we had thrown up against the wall, that this was really the best solution, was to recommend that the board follow this pathway and vote to move sixth graders to Dover. And then Wardsboro would make a 3, 4, 5 class with the remaining students. That would be taught primarily by Val, supported by a full-time para, with reading instruction at the 5th grade pushed in by Principal Basic. And that we chose this as our recommendation because we felt that it was the least disruptive to the least number of kids. And so that was our recommendation. Is that sufficient, Rich?
Yeah, so the difference between what we heard last Thursday and now was that it was just temporary, because what you were bringing back to us last Thursday sounded more like that they were thinking it was a permanent change, or that we were, because I know that was one of the protections we put in the Articles of Agreement when we formed the district with Dover and Wardsboro, was that neither school could be closed or less grades taught unless there was a vote of that electorate to protect the larger town from closing the smaller town. And is that what I'm reading correctly? Is that why we were told that wasn't a possibility last week?
Yeah, so the shift in thinking about from that temporary solution, the crisis in hiring, and them, I think, just having a better understanding of what it was we were looking for.
Okay. So
apologies for like putting everyone through all the different options that we talked about publicly, but as I said in that meeting last week, we were just talking about things that were possible, feasible, trying to get as many brainstorm ideas out there as possible. But we did not recommend any of those. These are the ones that we're recommending. I'm sorry. I think I muted you by mistake. I was trying to mute another person. Sorry about that.
Intentional, I'm sure. Hey, how many students does it affect? The least? No, because I think originally we were being told one number, but we also we do have some tuition students in the Wardsboro building.
The total number of 5th graders at Wardsboro is 5. Obviously,
6th graders.
6th graders. I'm sorry, 6th graders is 5, which does constitute the smallest impact of all the different plans that we talked about.
So, hang on, let me just.
If you happen to have a student in that group that was already tuitioned into River Valleys, then that student would be dealt with in a different way because they're not a resident, and so you have to follow through that process. And Don and I can work with the family to figure out what that process would be. But any family who is a resident of River Valleys that is in 6th grade at Wardsboro would be treated with this process in mind.
So the board would have to first vote to not offer 6th grade in Wardsboro and move those students to Dover
for a temporary measure, Rich.
Yep, and then the parents can petition to have their child go to like West River, Jamaica, wherever there's a 6th grade in a public school.
Yeah, so it could be, I mean, so you guys are adjacent to Barbara, I believe. Are you adjacent also to Twin Valley as well as West River? So and West River would be Leland and Gray. It's the only school in West River that has a 6th grade, but yeah, in essence, that would be the path.
Okay. And we are still, though, we still have an ad out to try to find a 6th grade teacher.
Yeah, and I think that's always been
6th grade. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 5th, 6th. That's always been plan A, is to try to still find and staff that position. And I think, I think there's been communication from folks that they're looking to, solve this as quickly as possible. And, maybe we find somebody the next day or two, or by the end of the week. I don't know what a good deadline is, but I think that this, we could say that you guys could vote on that to have that plan in effect if we don't find a teacher prior to a certain date, and we can continue searching in the meantime. And if we find someone, that becomes the path. But if we don't, then as of that date, this would become sort of the plan.
And then when would could we do it? Could we have that vote now? But if you find a person, then we could just withdraw, we would have to withdraw that vote, or could we make the motion contingent upon not finding somebody by whatever date certain? And then do we also have to make a motion as to when that occurs, or can we leave that up to the administration when we would close the sixth grade?
I mean, the more that you guys have that you voted on as a board, the better, I think. I think the date, I mean, I could recommend a date, but some people might choose to want to do it earlier. But I think you could also vote, you could have a vote to do this as a contingency to take effect for the year if this other thing doesn't occur. So I think you could have that as part of the motion.
Okay. You had a question?
Well, it's just minor, but
Go ahead.
5 kids affected, but I would assume it would affect the 3, 4, and the 5th grade.
Here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're still gonna have
Yeah,
the
I'm
ability to learn. It's the closing the sixth grade here is the major effect. Did you get that all, Bob?
I didn't really hear the question, but I heard your answer.
So Mike asks is you really we're kind of a little bit off where it really affects the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in Wardsboro also. Because it's not gonna be the same as it was.
It
That's
also
correct.
impacts the 6th grade in Dover because it would add to their count, but it impacts.
It impacts the whole.
It impacts the
dynamics
whole
of the
community,
school.
which is why we've got so many people here.
Okay.
But
Kate, you all set? Do you have any questions or comments?
So if we make a motion, we put a timeline and a date on it because we're not in our happy path. Our happy path would be to find a person to teach these kids and keep them here for the duration of their 5th and 6th grade. But if we don't get our happy path and we do need to close the 6th grade in Wardsboro, we would send them with whatever date. And then could we ask that the school work on a transition plan with both school buildings? Because it's a,
That would be an administrative function.
okay,
But what the other thing I think we could do, and again, I think, Bob, see if I'm correct or if I'm gonna mess this up. If we were to make a motion, we could always rescind the motion at a future date. So if we made a motion today to close the 6th grade and transition them to Dover, parents would then have that path if they have a child in 6th grade, so they could come to the next meeting, which is actually in Wardsboro again, and they can petition us at that meeting to ask that their child be tuitioned to a public school of their choice. And we could deal with that. That can also be pulled if so I think our next meeting is November 5th or 6th. So we could give that permission, but if on November 7th or 8th, they find a teacher, then then we could, I believe, rescind that if that's the path that everybody wants to go. I know that there was a lot of concern about timeliness, and if we wait till our next meeting to make that decision, then we just push everything further back and we lose more time. And I know that was a concern as well. So I think that was kind of where, Bob, you were headed with it. If we make a decision, we can rescind it later. We can put a date on it, and we can also leave it open that if we do find a teacher, that has the least impact on everybody, and then we can move down that path, correct?
That is correct. And so in my head, what I was thinking was, and again, this is where people might find it to be too long, but I was thinking that the date we would set would be November 3rd, which is in essence a week from Friday. And if there's no teacher ready to go at that point, then your meeting would be the following Monday, the 6th. And at that point, you guys could accept, requests from parents. You do have a hand up, just so you know, in the Zoom land.
No, we're gonna finish with the board, and then we're gonna go to public.
Yep. So that was sort of the timeline I had in mind. The 3rd is the hiring deadline for the teacher, and then the 6th, you guys would make your moves, and then we would have through up through the Thanksgiving break to make the transitions happen, and for people to tour schools, to do whatever they want to do, to think about that and to do that in a thoughtful way. And so that after the Thanksgiving break, you'd come back and the students would be in whatever new school that they're in at that time, whether it's in Dover or one of the nearby publics.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I have a question.
Thanks, Bob, for putting it together. My question is regarding the only the accessible to public schools. Obviously, our district for 7th and above, we don't provide those grades, yet
Right.
students can go to independent schools. Since we're not having a 6th grade eligible, why would that not be allowed to send those students to independent schools? I know it'll be difficult for some families to go 1 year to one school if they're intending on going to an independent school in 7th grade.
Yeah, I mean, I that is true, and I don't disagree with that assessment. It is the statute, and so it's pretty clear that it's who reside near a public elementary school in an adjacent district, and so that's what they're banking it on. That doesn't give dispensation for anything else.
So they couldn't, I mean, we've had people tuition to like Chester, Green Mountain in the past, so they couldn't even do that. It has to be adjacent to our district. So Brattleboro is even out.
Yep, the word is adjacent. It's in the law. Sorry.
Okay, so that's a difference. Okay, are you guys all set?
I had the same question
Yeah.
as him, and I really think
Just
we
you-
have to.
Who are you?
I'm Thais Gerardi, I'm a parent. I think we have to pursue a little more about that. I know it's in the statute, but how does it work to, at some point, somebody made a decision that 7th grade can go to independent. So what is the procedure to
That's
make that decision for the
stat-
6th grade?
The legislature made that law. The legislature makes statute
What level, like where?
where at the state level.
At the state level,
Yeah,
you're not allowed to
state makes
provide
statute.
6th grade independent school tuition?
Correct. That's
Okay.
what the statute says. It
Okay.
says adjacent public elementary schools. The
Okay,
statute says for tuitioning schools that if you don't, and Stratton does it, if you don't run a school system, you can tuition to any public or approved independent school. So for 7th grade, you can send your child to Burlington High School,
Right.
Burlington. This is what the statute says, and it's a legislature, and it's nothing that we can get changed. Legislature doesn't go back till January. I mean, I think that's what we're stuck with. It's a little bit better than what we had on Thursday, but again, I guess it's not.
and adjacent, sorry
Adjacent.
for my second language, it has to be touching Wardsboro town lines?
No, remember, there's no
Or-
Wardsboro School District anymore, nor is there a Dover School District.
Right,
It's the River Valley, so it has to touch Dover, Wardsboro. So that's why Marlboro touches Dover.
Okay.
And Twin Valley, I think, is a little bit of a stretch, but Wilmington does touch Dover, and that's Twin Valley. And Leland and Gray touches, the West River District touches Wardsboro and Dover, Newfane and Jamaica. So those are the 3 schools.
And the only other town that you are adjacent to physically is Stratton and Somerset, neither of which operate a public school.
Right. Are you all set?
yeah, I'm processing, but
Okay.
yes.
Well, I just want to make sure you're done before you go to somebody else.
Yes,
So I'm Allison Young. I'm a Stratton resident. I have a student in the 6th grade at Dover and a student in the 4th grade at Wardsboro. So this is fairly impactful for our family. And I just want it because it involves both of my children's teachers in both of their classrooms. I realize that there's going to be administrative stuff that has to go into play here, and that may not have all been worked through yet, but have we heard from those teachers about this? Because the kids are going into her class with her teacher, and then in my son's class at Wardsboro. And what can the teachers take on a 3, 4, 5? Can they take on an additional 5? Have we heard about that yet? Have we heard from them?
That's a good question. We here at Wardsboro have had that conversation. And it can be done for this year, to finish this year only. And the hopes of getting another teacher.
Or having our teacher return.
Or have the teacher return. As far as Dover, I'll let Tracy talk.
The teachers are.
What I can tell you is that I have only spoken with my staff about this scenario because there was nothing set in stone.
So the other thing I can just say, and then I'll finish my speech, is that we did have a bunch of parents of sixth graders come to the Dover meeting, the River Valley's meeting in Dover last time. And all of them asked for us to tuition their child to another school. So I'm not sure how much of an impact there's gonna be, we don't know. But from that conversation with those sixth grade parents that were at the meeting and on TV, was that they were looking to send them elsewhere. They didn't want them to go to Dover. But this is the path we have to go. And again, we don't know if I could predict the future and tell you how many we're gonna move over, or if we're gonna find a teacher or not, you know, I don't know.
Bridget Cole, the sixth grade teacher at Dover. I feel it's unfortunate that I found out about the possibility of taking on more students in sort of a backdoor way, because I was not even made aware of that, except for the Mrs. Gamache sharing that information with us as a staff. It feels it just feels really uncomfortable, because I don't feel that it was in the best interest of everyone. It's impacting so many different people. And I think in order for us to move forward, it really is important that everyone's aware and on board and everything's transparent, because I know I felt a little sidelined and it felt really uncomfortable. And I know my students hearing about it sort of as oh, by the way, this might happen, were devastated at just the shaking up that it could have caused. So I'm hoping that that we are doing this more openly than it felt like it has been. And we consider the best interest of all students and all staff involved. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Meredith, you've got had your hand up. Is that Meredith?
Yes.
I just wanted to get the names of everyone that doesn't have their last name or their name on Zoom, and everyone that's at Wardsboro.
We have a list from Wardsboro that will fax or we'll email you when we're done. And please, everybody, I know there were some late arrivers. And then who I can't see who's on TV.
I can tell you who I need if you want. Okay. There's Heather. I don't have a last name.
Sullivan.
And then there's Cass.
I'll spell it for you.
Okay.
It's V as in Victor, OULGARAKIS as in Sam. And then Claire is on here too. It'll show up as Claire's iPhone, but her last name is Griswold.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
You're welcome.
Is Heather's iPhone Heather Sullivan? Are you? Oh, it is.
Okay. And then there's Ben.
So my last name is Bush.
Great. And then there's Bam.
Ben.
Meredith, that's me. It's Brendan.
Oh, okay. And then there's Tennille. Oh, I have you though. There's Danielle.
Yeah, that's
Dawah.
Oleg.
Yeah.
Chris, Justin.
Justin Alden.
Alden.
ALBIN.
Thank you. And I think, there's a phone number that ends in 6258. 490-6258. No one?
You want
I have and then there's BCTV.
That's the recording people.
That is okay. Just making sure. And then there's Raymond and Don and Laura. Those are the last three. So Don.
Patrick, Hetttrick.
Thank you. And then Raymond,
Raymond Reed.
thank you. And Laura.
Maybe Urquhart?
I thought so, but I didn't know for sure. No, there's Laura Urquhart's on here. Maybe she added her last name.
No.
Is there another?
Is there I don't know if there's another one. I don't see another one, so that I'm good. Okay, thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. So. Meredith, it's all set. So what do you folks all want to do?
No question. I'm not sure if the question's for you or for Bob. So if I understand you correctly, Bob, if all students are being directed from Wardsboro to Dover in the 6th grade. If a family wants their student to attend an adjoining district, they need to petition the board in order to do that.
Yep, so after you guys, assuming that you do this, if you vote to make that happen, they could then send even just an email to Rich, myself, whoever, just requesting that.
Okay, so if
they can quote 16 VSA 821 if they want to, but I think we'll all know what they're referring to, so they probably don't.
So if a family were to petition the board for their student to attend an independent school, could the board approve that request and pay tuition to that school?
I mean, I would say that's outside of what the statute grants, so I think we would have to specifically ask that question. But when the attorney filled me in, he was clear and shared with me and even underlined that section that the statute itself that we're referencing does cover public schools only.
The only reason I ask, I think it's important that all families have as many options as possible to continue their path of education. Thank you.
So I think, folks, what we could do after hearing from a few people is maybe we hold off and maybe we have another meeting next Monday. And we asked Bob, Donna, and Tracy to come up with how it would look if all the parents moved over to Dover. I don't know if we have any, I don't. Well, yeah, hang on one second, because we don't, this is tough. Do we have any Wardsboro 6th grade parents here?
Yeah.
Okay. Could
And a few on Zoom too.
Okay, so would you folks mind telling us if we were to grant that ability to?
Can I ask a clarifying question on that first?
Yeah.
Okay, so just back to you, so, and I feel like I know the answer to this, but I just want to put it out there so it's very, very clear. So.
Yeah, just tell us who you are, so Meredith.
Oh, sure,
knows.
Lisa Ballantyne, daughter in the 6th grade, so. The Mountain School is a sending school, but it is an independent school, is my understanding.
It's a receiving school.
For Wardsboro, it's right, yes,
Right.
okay, so it is not an option because it isn't. Okay,
That's, but I'm was gonna go there in a
I
second.
just wanted to
hold
put it
that.
clear out there on the
Did you have a
table.
question?
I did, and it's just a little bit, little different, but, sorry, Janine Plimpton, and it was, on transportation.
Yeah, so.
So, you know, and
let's
if
can you
that
hold
was a
that for a
thing.
second.
Okay.
Did those of you that are here that have 6th grade students in Wardsboro, you don't have to say anything, but would it be your intent to have your child go to the Dover building? Or would it be your intent to try to send your child to one of the, for right now, we only have the public schools as an option.
So can I speak to a little? I'll
Yeah,
start.
but remember,
I'm willing to answer your
but
question.
hang on a second. Remember that because it's a student issue.
Yeah.
Usually we don't discuss that, so I would not want you to name your child or
That's
which
okay.
school you would like to go to or anything.
That's
Just
fine. I think for me personally, I would try to aim to a school that goes to 8th grade by now. And I think that's the biggest problem because of all the choices, there's only, I think Marlboro is the only one that goes to 8th grade.
West River goes to 8th grade.
Okay.
West River goes right through to 12th grade.
So,
And Twin Valley goes right through to 12th grade.
I thought we had three choices.
Right, Twin Valley, Marlboro, and West River.
Which is
Or
Leland
six.
and
Leland and
Gray.
Gray,
Pardon?
which is Leland and Gray.
West River is Leland and
Well,
Gray.
Oh, Leland and Gray, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, so that's why I'm confused.
Yeah, but there's no more Leland and Gray High School. There's the West River School
understand.
District. And so that it just,
So
it's confusing, but
Twin Valley, is that the elementary school goes to sixth grade, or would they go to,
I
I didn't
don't,
know which,
Yeah.
what building that?
What is?
is it?
The elementary school.
It's
one that goes
Twin
to-
Valley Middle High.
And then the middle high goes.
But they would have.
Seven.
Okay, thank you.
It is different school, if that's what you're asking.
It is,
Seventh grade.
right.
Oh, they are.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Just-
Sixth grade are in one.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, so the sixth grade goes to what, the Whitingham building, which is the junior,
Right.
the middle and.
So would that be
and
an
senior
option?
school? Yeah, because it's at the district. Again,
Right.
we people get lost on buildings versus districts. So
Well, but
the
it's still a
district,
change. It's a
Yeah,
new
no,
change.
no, what I'm just saying is
I
people, even on the board, we sometimes,
Great, okay.
we're thinking of the name of the building, so it's. So
Okay.
anyways, yes, it would, those are right now the only three options. So, because again, if everybody's intent is to not, if all the Wardsboro parents' intent is not to have their child go to the Dover building.
Right.
That takes a whole bunch of concerns off of. But if everybody thinks they want to go to the Dover building, then the only reason I'm asking that is that may have us change how we,
Right.
what we decide, also.
I think I can answer your question. The intent for me personally is not to continue moving my child from school to school. So
Exactly.
I will push for my child to go to the school that she will go to seventh grade in.
Okay. But just remember the board.
I understand,
Okay.
but that will be my push.
Okay,
So I will not push my child to go to Dover for 6 months.
And I'm in the same.
Yeah, right. So that's why my question, because it's related, because I think
Yeah.
all of us feel like we don't want to do 6 months of a school
And then move our children again. It just
So
causes
it's all
more
related, all of us.
I hear you. And
Yes.
again,
Yes.
this situation is.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, there's some parents.
Oh.
I'm not trying to get into everything. I just
Yeah.
am trying to be very
And
clear.
I don't want you folks to get into
I will push for
personal
my
stuff
child to
either,
go to
and that's
the
why I
school, yeah,
was just trying.
That she will move to seventh grade.
There's no.
Okay, so hey, folks,
Pause,
Okay.
and we're gonna let the folks who are the sixth grade parents on the screen, we're gonna give them an opportunity to talk, so if they want to raise their hands and we'll call on them,
and you don't have to either, again.
if you would like to speak.
I was gonna say, you might have to go to page.
If they
2.
use the hand raising feature,
No,
they
it
will
brings
jump to
them
the
right to
front
the
of the
front.
screen. I zoom a lot.
Okay, who is that?
Abby Larson.
Go ahead, Abby.
I don't intend to send my son to Dover either. I would like to send him where he'll go for seventh grade.
Thank you, Abby. We appreciate it.
And Chantel has her hand up as well.
I can't see that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's because she's got a white background.
Oh,
too.
go ahead, Chantel. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's okay.
She's had her hand up for a while.
It's okay. We don't have any intention in sending Max to Dover either.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. So here's what I think, board, is we've got a couple choices. We can plan to meet next Monday or even Friday, if it makes sense, for a brief meeting. We can ask Tracy and Donna and Bob to work on the logistics of having a 3, 4, 5 here of the possibility that a couple students may choose to go to Dover, even though we heard that they didn't, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. Again, we can't predict it. And that Bob, if we could just check again and just, I think I really, to me, and I know it's kind of a loophole. And I know there's a lot of stuff about independent schools versus, public schools. But to me, again, this is a situation that is not our fault. I mean, it's not like we expected to have a spouse pass away. It's not like we expected the labor market to be so awful and Vermont to not have anybody that wants to teach. you know, and because a lot of I think I would really like to push on what the parents have said is, you know, to keep moving your child around. I mean, that's, you know, kind of like the military, you know, you can go to 4 different schools in a year and they've shown it's not a great process. I mean, that's one of the reasons why, you know, the military adopted the IB stuff for the diplomats and for families that move around. So is there somebody we could push that question off to?
Yeah, I'm actually crafting an email right now back to the attorney with that specific thing, and I'm stepping it up, and I'm using the 1 year transition piece as part of the argument to see what he says.
And also, I wouldn't say for 1 year. I would just say for the balance of the current year.
Well, no, I mean for the student, it's 1 year. It'd be a 2-year transitions. 3 schools in 3 years, basically. If you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that as part of the argument for him to see what he says. So.
Okay. So we will ask that question again. I don't think we can break the law because I think we could. People could challenge us. People that the board made a bad decision and it could get reversed. I don't know. I do like to try to follow what the Lisa statute says, and that one's pretty specific. Believe me, if there was any vagueness to it, we would push the envelope and let the state come after us. But I think that's going to be a harder one. But again, we'll try to push on that some more and see. For those parents that do have students, I mean, if we were to decide this on Monday, then with setting a date of like next Friday, if we don't have a teacher, to have it go in effect, and then people could come to the meeting the following week, and at least those that are okay with one of the 3 joining schools that we know we can go to, does that work for people?
I have a question. Sorry, I have so many questions, but I think we need a little time if we don't want to go to Dover to sign up, register, and go wherever we want to go, right? So I just want to make sure that you don't shut the grade and we're out.
No.
So as parents, like when you make that decision, we have
The decision's going to be made so that what Bob recommended was to shoot for after the Thanksgiving recess. So to see if we can continue on to Thanksgiving, but if you make a decision earlier and your child is all set,
okay,
you can take your child and bring him to a new school tomorrow.
Not if we're going to the connected schools like
could.
Dover, Marlboro, because they don't have to accept them until you make that decision. So it's kind of timely tricky, right?
We will make the decision either tonight, today, or on next Monday.
Oh,
Then you folks can come to the board on the following Monday, November 6th.
okay.
And if you can get in on November 7th, you can do that.
I see. Okay.
But if you
2 hands in Zoom land up.
Yeah, but hang on,
I see. Okay.
I just want to make sure you may wait till have your child stay till the Thanksgiving break, and then after Thanksgiving break, start at a new school. It's up to you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay. Well, no, I don't know if we explained that. That's kind of where the question is. What did Bob say?
Kim has her hand up on
Who?
Zoom. Kim Meeker.
Kim, go ahead.
Hello. What is the count for Miss Bill's class if she has 3, 4, and 5? What's the total number of students in that class?
20.
Are you all set?
Mm-hmm.
Is she her hand down?
Yep, Kim's hand is down.
Okay.
Is Chantel, is your hand up again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
For some reason, I can't see the hand because it's in the background. So if we don't, just yell.
I'm losing my voice, so it's hard for me to talk very much, but I guess the biggest thing is that I know there are a few 6th grade parents who are leaning toward Leland and Gray, and I would just hope that the kids would transition together, and that maybe there would be some kind of plan for them like there would have been if they stayed the whole year. They're going into a bigger community that they're not used to. And, they're going to have more than one core teacher. And so just being thoughtful for those students if they move from Wardsboro to say Leland and Gray, that they're able to do it together and, you know, get a tour and just like things that are, that they're not just, you know, obviously thrown in there.
Yeah, I think we would work very closely with the folks, specifically if there's a group of them going, like you said, together, that we would work closely with the counseling department and the administration and the teachers over there to maybe do some sort of pre-work for sure. Because certainly they've missed out on whatever happened for the rest of those kids entering this building as from last spring. So yeah, we would definitely work to make something like that happy smooth, Chantel. Don't worry about that.
Hey, Bob, what about doing what Steven used to do when he was a middle school principal? Could we set up maybe a visit for the sixth graders to go to at least the three public schools to, if the parents want to see what they're like?
Yeah, what I was going to suggest, Rich, is that if Donna connects with each of the 5 families to see what their, at least the preliminary preference would be, and I understand that one of them still, potentially there's a private school element to this, but at least if we knew that there was a cluster that were interested in a particular place or places, to help coordinate that. And I can facilitate that with her and the Leland and Gray administration to make that happen in the interim. So yeah, I don't think there's a reason why we don't do that, even if it's just a couple hour visit, a tour, so on and so forth. And I think if parents want to do a similar thing, just to do a drop by and visit, we would want to coordinate that a little bit as well, so that someone there is set up to, you know, meet with the principal. He gives a tour, like, you know, there's some kind of a feeling of comfort for parents as we go through that process, because it is a big transition. It's from a class of 5, or I guess it was combined 5, 6, but even with 5 of them together, it's a small number, and these guys have been connected to each other for a long time. And so I mean, the 6th grade class at Leland and Gray, I think, is 30, which is still small by a lot of accounts, but in this case, it's a pretty big change.
So hearing all this, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. Who are you?
I'm Amanda Jortson. I'm a parent of a 4th grader, also staff here at Wardsboro. So if the board votes to close our 6th grade here at Wardsboro, would we continue to try to hire for a 5th grade teacher, or would we close that? This is my first question.
So here's what I was going to suggest is, I don't know, and that's up to the administration. That's not really a board decision. That would be a recommendation of the administrators talking to their staff. So what I was going to suggest, and see if this works for you guys, is that, and for you folks, more importantly, because you have to decide to vote or not. Bob, could we do this? Could we plan another 3:30 meeting on Monday, next Monday? Do it just like we have now. There's a few things I think that you need to work on with your administrators, for Tracy and Donna. And there's some questions around the 3, 4, 5 that would be here. I know that Donna's thought about it a lot, but I don't know if it's been, and I think she's talked to some of the staff, but have that, do that. Have Tracy talk to the Dover people about, if we get some students that go into the Dover building, and then talk about transportation, find out if there's something we can work with transportation for students somehow. And then let's come back next Monday and hear the recommendations. Parents could then express to their building administrator any concerns they have to make sure they're covered. And then you can put something together for us as a package to look at. And then you can also push a little bit on, that public versus, private or independent school for us.
Yeah, we could certainly do that. I think it would make the most sense to, rather than spin our wheels on things that might not be actual contingencies, to find out where people are looking first, and then plan for what that would look like, and really be pretty specific. And again, not a commitment necessarily from those parents, but just a straw poll, if you will, to figure out what that looks like, so we know what we're talking about as far as numbers, to make that conversation a little bit smoother. Because I think, as Bridget pointed out, like having her add 5 kids to her room is pretty different than having 1 kid to a room or 0 kids. And so the implications might be very different. And what the plan is back in Wardsboro for the 3, 4, 5 with Val and Donna and a para, is I think they've already kind of got that in mind, but I think we could flesh that out a little more as well, for sure.
And I just think if the parents, not in a public setting, but if you could either send a note or an email to Donna or Bob and just kind of think where you might want to go, just so that they can kind of use that to flush out their ideas. And then maybe, Bob, if we could get something out to everybody by like Friday, just this is what your thoughts are. Then that way parents will know about it ahead of time. And then we can have that discussion next Monday. Can I get at least 3 more of you to come over? Today, is it Halloween next Monday?
Halloween is on Tuesday and on Monday.
Okay, so if we meet here, you'll have to have candy. Does that work for the board?
I think so.
Rich, just a quick clarifying question. When you say send out thoughts on Friday, what is it that are you looking for specifics on what this would look like? I mean, you can't do kid information, so.
No, I think just, that this is that, you believe the 3, 4, 5 will work. The tuition, the closing the 6th grade for 1 year for the remainder of the year in Wardsboro. And all those students need to go to Dover, but, talking to the parents, the majority of the parents are going to be, planning to go somewhere else. They all plan to go to school X, and, we'll be able to get those help with transportation, just kind of a little bit about what we're going to discuss. So it's not a surprise to everybody on Monday. And then I think that would give us the ability on Monday to vote on it, so that if we decide to do that where they'll need to request tuition, then they can follow up with us the following week on that also. And then that just moves everything up. If we wait, till the following Monday, if we wait for another week and a half, and then, we may not make the Thanksgiving deadline.
So the communication on Friday, that's to the board, or is that to the public?
I think it can go to everybody, because there's questions that we need answered. I think if you find out that they will give us a waiver, or we can somehow do the other, like the mountain school as an example, that I think helps parents make, feel comfortable with the decision. I think if we hear from Donna that, the 3, 4, 5 thing is going to work, and this is how it's going to be, and they can talk about it and feel comfortable and reassure people, I think then it's a lot easier. If there's one parent that says that they really would like their kid to go to Dover, and Tracy is good with that, then I think, it makes it a lot easier for us.
Okay, happy to do that. Yeah, if the parents, I've already heard from several after our first parent meeting that Donna hosted, and there's a couple I have not heard from. So yeah, if you've not already communicated to me what your desire would be, then please shoot something to me and Donna, so that we can start to kind of coordinate that work this week. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
And it's not set in stone. If you say,
right,
I'm going to do this, that doesn't mean you have to do that. If something different presents itself.
Gives us some guardrails to kind of think about and plan. Yep.
So since we're going to clarify about like independent schools, can we also clarify about non-adjacent districts that these students are also interested in for their future education, like the Brattleboro or Manchester MEMS/BBA? Because like I know some of them have siblings that are already going in those directions.
Bob, do you have that?
So my sense is that if we have an avenue to operate, I'm not going to say outside the law, but parallel to the law, how about that? With regards to the privates, my guess is that would probably also fly on the adjacents, but I will find out as well.
Thank you.
Is that what you want?
No.
Oh, go ahead, then you can. Don't forget.
Oh,
so
sorry.
she knows.
I'm Allison Young again. I was just wondering, budget wise, have you talked to Lori? Is this still flush with what you have? I mean, you're looking for a 5th grade teacher.
We have, the money's not the important thing. The important thing is get this right for the students and the staff. So we'll be okay.
Okay.
That's why we carry a large war chest. Can you just say your name? Because
Amanda Jordan again.
Thank you.
4th grade parent and staff member. I don't want to put Valerie on the spot, but I would really love to hear how she feels and how she's thinking in terms of absorbing 8 kids into her classroom and another grade level of standards in math and literacy. So I feel like that's really important. I don't want to put you on the spot right now, so if you're not ready, but I do feel like your input, I mean, we can't lose another teacher. You can't hire a teacher. And she's a great one.
And we all agree. But that's why I wanted Donna and Bob and to talk to them and put together how it would look so that we can answer those questions. And I don't think it's fair to put somebody on the spot.
I can speak briefly to it. It is not a surprise to me. As many of you know, I've been trying to do whatever I can to hold on to our kids because I love those kids. It is honestly 2 children more than I had in my class last year. You know, if you just look at it that way, it's 2 more children. And it's not, is it ideal, best case? No. Is it the best that I think we've been able to come up with at this point? Maybe. But the piece too is that, you know, we've talked about para support. You know, last year didn't have the para support, so that would be another piece. There is some talk about some possible, like, having some additional supports, maybe through Donna or whoever. So is it doable? Yeah, I think so. Is it gonna be a lot? Yes. But again, it's 2 more kids than I had last year.
And I
So
think I want to stress too, that we don't expect this to be this is just, there's an emergency this year. And, you know, I think too, what we're seeing is throughout this area is we get more applicants in Dover because we're more single grades until this year than we do in like Wardsboro or Wyndham is having a really tough time finding people because that's multiple grades in a very small building. I think we would find a person, but the other thing this allows us to do is we did ask that the one staff member who's taking a leave to let us know early. So, you know, a lot of people are already under contract and they don't want to break their contract. So we're hoping that we will be able to fill some positions in more easily. And who knows, maybe the job market will get better. There'll be a whole bunch of new people who just graduated from college that might be out there and, you know, pardon?
The statistics are not leaning that way.
Well, you can always be hopeful.
You can be,
Your
absolutely.
class could be half full, even though it's half empty. Are you okay then?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Val,
Val.
for being put on the spot. If everybody in TV land is good, I think then, Bob, we're gonna adjourn and then we'll meet next Monday, same place, same time. And we'll kind of go over it and see if we can put this across the finish line for people.
Okay, I'll get that warning organized and we'll get it out.
So if there's nobody else has anything else?
Can I make one?
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for showing up today. It's really nice to know that everybody cares so much about the education of each of their students, regardless of building and grade, that they're taking the time to show up and be part of this discussion. We appreciate you. Thank you.
And Laura Sibilia really wanted to be here tonight. She, you know, is a very strong advocate for kids, but she had a work meeting from 3 to 4:30. So she just asked that we acknowledge it, that she would really like to have been here. And she does plan on being here at the next meeting, and that, you know, respect the stress, you know, that everybody's undergoing. We're really sorry about that. And we just hope that we come out with a solution that, you know, is going to be in position the least amount of people and has the best outcome for the students. So, and please, you know, direct some comments to the administration so that they know, and, you know, feel free to, I know Donna's doing a lot of teaching, so she may not be as easy to get hold of, but you can drop her an email. If there's no other questions, any questions on TV land?
Folks can feel free to reach out to me too, Rich, here at central office.
Tebow@wyndhamcentral.org. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 4:23 p.m.
Thank you. Motion's made second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, folks.